I'll never be able to buy property, never be able to afford property. They're in this rental cycle or trap. It doesn't have to be that way.
Information overload. The fact is humans don't change, which is paralysis by analysis. Now there's just more analysis. So what does it mean? Your human factor that doesn't change is now worse than ever.
I mean, when we see figures like the home ownership rate, the first home buyers are 37, right? So if I'm a 21-year-old and I see the average age of a first home buyer is 37, I might actually, and I think it's justifiable. I go, you know what?
I'll worry about that later.
It's not a sacrifice. It's like, hey, how do I want to shift the needle? So I'm not sacrificing going out. All I'm doing is changing the strategy, the dynamic.
So we're back for another episode of the Property Now podcast. I'm your host, Michael Carboni. My friends call me Carbs. And today's topic, we've got some great guests, I must say today. Absolute professionals, many pods. Some have been on TV, absolutely fantastic. But this episode was inspired by a conversation that we had. Kon Stathopoulos from McGrath Projects. How are you, mate?
Good, buddy. Yourself?
We spoke a little while, and we've done a few things together, Coposit and McGrath Projects.
Yes.
And we spoke about your wealth program with your team.
Yes.
And you mentioned that a lot of your staff are young.
Yep.
They're renters.
Yes.
And you want to help them become buyers or
Absolutely.
owners. And light bulb just went off in my mind. And I said, that's a podcast episode. That's
Perfect.
a great topic.
Great.
So I want to talk about how people go from renting to owning. So Con, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks, Carbs.
Good
Appreciate it.
And we're friends, so you call me Carbs.
Exactly. I hope so.
To your right,
Yes.
Arjun Paliwal, InvestorKit. Mate, I open up my Instagram feed. Your face is there.
YouTube.
I turn on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, you're there. Channel 9, you're there. I walk into my podcast studio, you're there. Because my life algorithm is Arjun Paliwal. So it's great to have you here in the flesh, mate. Welcome.
Oh, mate, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, love it, love it. And of course, Chris Ferris, everyone.
Am I still considered a guest? Or
You're a regular.
Yeah, thank you.
You're a regular.
Thank you,
It's good to have you here. So as I mentioned, Con, great topic in my opinion. Renting to buying, there seems to be a lot of barriers, especially for a lot of young Aussies today.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be this barrier. I'll never be able to buy property, never be able to afford property.
Yes.
They're in this rental cycle or trap. It doesn't have to be that way. What do you think some of the barriers or some of the myths there might be?
Oh, I think the first one is the most obvious one is the average median price in Sydney. I think it just crept up to just under 1.8 million or something like that recently. Yeah, 1.75, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I moved to Sydney in 2013 and the average sale price, median price in Sydney was like 980. So I think that the first barrier has been the ability to be able to actually get into the market. And then, we've had a lot of initiatives from, state governments and federal governments as well over the years. And there's one that was recently introduced in October. And I think that that's probably helped, but also hindered some buyers. It's actually fueled the market. So I think the first one is the ability to be able to put enough money together for a deposit.
Yeah.
And then things, all the obvious things like lender's mortgage insurance and the ability to, where do I buy? Am I buying a unit, a duplex, a townhouse, a house? What suburb, what area? So I think there's so many mixed messages that it becomes quite cluttered.
Yep.
And what I actually see out in the field on a weekend is then you've got the bank of mum and dad, which is also the brains, trust and power of family saying, don't buy that one. That bedroom's too small. And I think there's just a lot of hesitation from people that are renting to be able to actually get past those barriers into property.
There's a lot of data out there that suggests the buying decision is taking longer and longer.
Absolutely, can see that.
So I think REA had some feedback that it's 22 months before someone buys their home or makes that decision.
From search to buy, it actually takes someone, when they decide they're sitting on their couch deciding I want to buy, it takes them 22 months to actually get to that point. Decision to
I've seen it, Chris, firsthand. I mean, there's a guy who's a big American guy, and I recognize him because he had a barbecue T-shirt on from Austin, Texas, and I'd been to this barbecue place, and I met him 2.5 years ago when he was looking in Borkham Hills, and he ended up buying in Marion. And that's because the market shifted so much that he just kept pushing because he was hesitant on making a decision. Now, I think that's kind of, an interesting perspective that sometimes we just need to make the decision.
Yep.
And sometimes the market moves at such a pace that we get lost in where we originally wanted to find,
Do you think it's just they're listening to people that are not professionals in their field and again, the auntie and uncle that sort of says what not to do, but they don't really have that professional opinion and then they think that the market's going to fall? Like, what do you think the actual
I think it's all of those, but the man to my right probably knows it better than me. So Arjun, over to you on that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there, more than ever before. So if we just look at just time overall, it used to be the family dinner table conversation.
Yes.
Now I don't even know how many people use their dinner table.
That's right.
I think it's a visual design rather than an actual functional place of the home. Then you go next from the conversations around family to friends. Yeah. Then you go to the next phase, which there used to be magazines in airports and things that used to pull out and see the your investment in this magazine or other magazines. Then there was blogs. Now there's YouTube videos. Then there's podcast.
Yeah.
Now there's just AI, social media, everything. So
it's just information overload.
Information overload. So the fact is humans don't change, which is paralysis by analysis. But now there's just more analysis. So what does it mean? Your human factor that doesn't change is now worse than ever.
So more paralysis.
Absolutely.
How do you cut through the noise then, Arjun? Or how do you...
Well, see, the problem is that when you're cutting through the noise, everyone's trying to do it. So every advisor, every finfluencer, every business, every media channel, everything's getting, now how do we cut through? And so that puts them actually in a worse position, which is, well, what decision do I actually take?
Correct.
Yeah. And even on the cut through part, because it is difficult with social media and influencers, because, and I've seen a lot, it's come out very recently about some of the spruikers that are out there. How do you actually break through who is a professional and who is a spruiker that has self-interest? How do you actually, what are the questions that you should ask and how do you break through?
So I go through a few things. Firstly, which is most people only fall to different things of advice that they don't feel comfortable about when they don't have clarity in their own goal. If you have clarity in your own goal, the actual pathway, which market, what you're trying to get into, the type of property, what budgets, what lifestyle you're trying to live, when do you want to purchase by, your budget. So once you get these numbers right and you get the core basics, half the advice falls away because it's not applicable.
Yep.
So if you get clear, advice falls because it's not applicable. Then the second part is you can go through who's someone in my network or who's someone in that field of giving the guidance that's done what I want to do. And then all of a sudden more solutions happen because it's real. Someone's done something. So if you start getting clear on your plan and then suddenly go to who's done something that I want to do, you end up finding your opinions come down to this level.
Because I find a lot, like some people just want to have one home and they just want, they view home as shelter. It's not an asset class. They just want a home for their family and be able to grow their family. Then you got the other, there's a missing middle there where then it goes from that to get a property portfolio of 60 to 80 properties. And there's sort of a missing middle there. Not everyone wants to have that 80 property portfolio. Some people just want to have that one portfolio. So is that something that you sit down with your clients and actually understand and work through?
Well, firstly, there's this belief that you need a lot to actually be successful.
Yes.
That's the problem. And that's also come from social media.
Yep.
Funnily enough, the most common figure we've done after 2,000 property plans reviewed, we found that a couple on a household income of 200K or more, so two incomes obviously, if they are looking at getting to their financial goal of say a 6-figure passive income, they're in their 30s and they just want to be okay, well, a combination of their super by retirement combined with 3 to 4 properties usually gets them there. And we're not talking millions and millions of dollars of properties in these 3 to 4. We're just talking, between some affordable major regional centers at 650 to 850 to some capital cities 850 to 1.1. And so these ranges differ on that 3 or 4 option. But the main thing here is when people get shocked when they speak to us to realize you don't actually need that many to be okay, that's the first light bulb that goes, well, I should actually be giving this a go now and actually giving it a try.
When I hear that, that almost then makes it achievable. Because then when you see that I've got no properties right now and I have to have 50 properties to be successful, that almost sort of makes it unachievable. And so then when you break down the actual goal and what their goals are and to have that success and get to a passive income of X, and it's 2 or 3 properties, that all of a sudden becomes achievable over a 20, 30 year
But
plan,
I think this is exactly what Arjun's talking about, is that we've got so much data and so much noise. We really need to cut through to be able to work out what we're interested in versus what we're committed to. And it might be, yes, I want to have that passive income and I need 60 properties and I've got this influencer and my friend did this and my uncle and my mum and my dad, etc. It all depends on getting that clarity on the goal that you're wanting to achieve and then being able to go and execute on it, right? So cutting through the noise. So what do we need? We need to have, is it an investment? Are we downsizing? Are we we're looking to own or occupy? What areas? What are we looking for? Capital growth or, rent return or negative gearing or tax, benefits. Then it's actually, going down through the process. Well, which one do I look at and how do I go and get a building and pest report and a strata report? And So you can see how it can get very confusing very quickly. So I think what Arjun said is absolutely spot on, is once you've kind of worked out what you want, what you can afford and how you want to live, then all that noise goes away.
Well, clarity is a big thing. Do I need my forever home right now, or can I build up to my forever home? Do I need to live in the house that I've purchased, or can I rent vest?
Yes.
Am I downsizing? Am I upsizing?
Yeah.
That's important. And if you know where the end goal is, then you know what the steps need to be. And I think a lot of young people think, we've got to have everything immediately right now. And if I can't have everything immediately right now, I hesitate.
But do you think it is that, or they've given up?
Well,
I
think
when we see figures like the home ownership rate, the first home buyers are 37, right? So if I'm a 21-year-old and I see the average age of a first home buyer is 37, I might actually, and I think it's justifiable. They go, you know what?
It's too hard.
I'll worry about that later.
16 years later,
it's also out of my reach too.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they're coming out with probably at 21, 22, if they're professional, coming out with probably a 50, 60 grand HEX bill as well.
Yeah.
Starting their career on 60, 70, whatever that graduate rate is. And then they're looking at that going, well, hold on, it's going to take me 10 years to get to the deposit. Then I've got to attach another 30 year on top of that. I'm just going to go to Europe. Screw this. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't actually blame them for that, because maybe it comes back to the noise out there. And they look at that and they realize, you know what, there's so much noise out there, there's too much information. 37, they make a decision, they go, you know what, property's not for me, and they lose hope. Whereas, and I think that's something that we see every day with Coposit. What we do, the average age of a first-time buyer with us is actually 27. So bucking the age by 10 years, because I think that they see what we do and they go, oh, actually, hold on, there is hope here.
Yeah.
So is it about getting that right education, as you said, and finding out that there actually is hope? So it's building that hope back up, and not, I have a personal opinion of we're getting to the point where we're creating a generation of renters, and I think that's a huge problem. I always talk about, the point of no return in home ownership being that 40 age. If first home buyers get to an average age of 40, then I think home ownership is going to
becomes a lot harder.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
The Coposit story is a good one, how Coposit started. We don't talk about this a lot, but I think it's really important here, because the idea of Coposit came about
from a renter.
Renters. So I don't know if you want to unpack that a bit.
Yeah, look, it's from renters that didn't have the deposit, and they had a good income. At the time, it was 180,000 household income, so 2 incomes as well. And they were looking to rent a property for $450 per week. And we just said, look, that's, you've got more than sufficient income. What's the issue? And they just said, we can't get to the deposit. And so Coposit, in a long way, to shorten the story, was created off the back of that situation in 2017. We've created Coposit since then. But that person was able to break the rental cycle and be able to achieve home ownership.
Yeah.
And so I think you probably see that day in, day out as well with all your clients as well.
Yeah. I feel like there's, coming to your point earlier, just this average age as well, and where the difference can happen. When you get a lot of options, I'll talk you through, there's just so many things happening right now. Firstly, I look at my own life and I look at the upsides we have, because where we have downsides somewhere, I've never seen a yin alone. There's a yin and a yang, right? So I may take longer to take a decision to buy a home, or capability to buy a home. But you ask my parents and you sit in the same room and you go, hey, Dad, by 25, where did you travel? By 25, where did I travel? He would need up till age 40 something to catch up to my travels in 25. And that was before I made any decent coin. And so the thing is, like, there's so many other cool things. Hey, Dad, what did you have to do to make money in the things? And I had to get my tools out, I had to go do stuff. I'm like, just pop open the laptop and we can sell stuff online.
Yeah.
We can. So I do want to say that there are going to be some parts of life that are tougher for sure. And home ownership has shifted in one area. But then there's other opportunities that are bigger. And so when you look at it, there's also choices that people are making. It's actually, in some people's minds, they're making choices where they go, wait, you're telling me in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, it's at 1.6% rental yield.
Yeah.
And I can pay this much to live in a house that's worth that much? I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to rent there. So there's just more education on that side too. So now people are becoming, I want to choose to rent. And so I just feel like there's just all this information that's also created positives, where people are now going, well, I'm going to do this business or that with AI, or travel around the world, or live in this suburb that I could never dream of living until I'm, 50s in, successful businesses, and I've, really killed it with my career.
Then they can think about property.
And they get to that. So I feel like there's going to be some influences for sure, which are caused by affordability. But a lot of influences that don't often get talked about as well are by choices.
Yeah, lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, completely agree.
So prioritizing not just travel and spending money, but actually prioritizing maybe starting a business.
Or quality of life
quality
too,
of
Chris.
life.
Like, we knew a client when I was managing the eastern suburbs for McGrath, and he was a rent investor, and he lived in a $12.5 million property at the time in Darling Point. But he was renting. But he also had, 9 other properties all throughout the West, Northwest and the Hills District. This is going back 15 years ago. And I said, well, why do you do that? And he goes, because I choose to live here. I like the quality of the lifestyle. I can afford it. I could never afford to buy this as a single dwelling, but I can afford to buy those and have that, as my kind of future plan.
Yeah.
That was almost unheard of 15 years ago too. But
That's right.
obviously more and more people are doing this now.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting model because Sydney in general is seen as unaffordable.
Yes.
So people are looking out further and buying investment
Well,
properties
they're
and
living where they want to live and then investing where they want to
Correct.
invest.
I mean, but I also look at it. I bought the McGrath Parramatta office in 2020 during COVID, and our average sale price at the time across all types of dwellings was $897,000. I look at that this morning before I came in here. It's 1.35. That's in 5 years, and now that might be the quality of stock that we now sell, but it's moved so quickly that I think that the procrastination or the paralysis by over-analysis, sometimes you just got to make a decision and you just got to go in. And I'm not saying that not without taking the right advice on board. You need your board of directors, the people that are keeping you safe, accountants and solicitors, and people like Arjun, trusted advisors. Yep. But I see hesitation on a weekend because dad's pulling him saying no more bids, and you're like, I've seen you at these auctions for literally 6 months. You should have bought that one 6 months ago.
That 6 months, it's already moved.
But Dad was telling you, no, that's too much. And now you've already moved your budget anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to make that decision.
There's a new trend I see on TikTok. I'm seeing it a lot. A lot of people are doing it, and we might do one as well. But it's 2020, someone walks through the door and says, I should have bought a property last year. And then it's 2021, same person walks through the door, I should have bought a property last year. Yeah. And it goes up until now. It keeps happening.
But I feel like you always think you've over-purchased as well.
At the time.
My brother, I still remember the auction I went to
100%.
with my brother 15 years ago where he paid, it was $255,000 for
3
a house.
rubles
for a house in
and a
Seven
goat.
Hills. And right, and for a house in Seven Hills, he had to renovate, had burnt doors. It was the next housing. They used to auction off some of the housing commission houses. And I remember at the time he made that extra $1,000 bid and he won the auction and he says, oh shit, I've paid too much.
Yeah.
And you fast forward to today, it's 1 point whatever.
Correct.
3, 4. And it's just, that's only when I think about 15 years, it's not that long of a period.
No.
And that's that period between a 21 and 22-year-old then looking at that 37 age and saying, by that time, that's the sort of equity.
That's the opportunity.
Whether or not, that's a 5x growth, right? Whether or not it goes in 5x growth again or not is no one knows.
And your comment of 15 years ago in Sydney.
Yeah.
I feel we actually almost have to come together and agree on this and say, let's throw away that. Do you know why? Today, Sydney's different to 15 years ago.
100%.
Of course.
I moved
Global
into
city.
Western Sydney about 2010, so around 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And in Westmead, it was all about go to the CBD, go to the CBD,
Yep.
go to the CBD.
Now it's not.
Now people who live in Westmead go to a different CBD. It's called Parramatta.
Parramatta.
That's exactly
right.
right.
And so from the thing of Sydney as well is that I love the comparison of the past because then you got to see it, like how Sydney's changed. But then people can look at that in two ways. One way is going, it's so expensive now, it's not what it used to be. But then you can also look at it and go, I've never had this many good restaurants in my life here in Sydney. I've never had that many good cafes. I've never had that many, different experiences of things to do.
Infrastructure that allows me to be able to travel into the CBD.
Absolutely. I'm very humbled and fortunate that I live on acreage today. But to be on acreage and be in the city within an hour, what type of transport,
amazing.
That's exactly right.
Like
Yeah,
Rouse's,
arterial road.
Rouse's new metro and
That's
all that sort of
right,
stuff.
yeah.
So
That's actually
there's
on my vision
everything.
board, mate. The acreage, honestly. But
His house is beautiful.
I would imagine.
We bought it from his team.
Oh,
He's a
well,
real
there you go.
and coming to the team story, in 2015, my first home in Sydney, that same story, we'd used Rumour,
Yes.
and we'd bought a property from Rumour Mundi and his team.
Yeah.
And my dad was pulling my shirt.
Was he?
Don't bid on this one.
bid.
Don't go
Yeah,
higher.
There you go.
We said we'd go up to 950. And then in the auction during the time, we went up to 970 something,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
And so that little bit extra, I said, Dad, that we've got to do this. And then we used their team again at McGrath to sell it and almost for double.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
right.
so the thing is, it's interesting how that works. But back then, the parents had the same feeling.
Yeah.
And even today, they'll have it. And I think in 10 years from now, they'll still have that same feeling.
I think what you said, you just nailed a really interesting point there. Sydney has changed. Sydney is a global city.
Yeah.
This is, so there's no surprise that the average sale price is what the average sale price. I mean, Brisbane's just now surpassed Melbourne. Right? But I kind of look at it and I go, well, Think about the arterial roads, the M4, the tunnel system, what's being invested in terms of light rail and metro. I mean, that metro from Parramatta, when that's built, you'll be able to go from Parramatta Square to Martin Place in 17 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You could call me and say, Con, do you want to grab a bite to eat, a sandwich?
I'll be there in 18 minutes.
I'm there in 18 minutes. So, I was in North Sydney the other day and I caught the metro back to Tallawong. It was so much faster than driving. So we haven't had access to that much infrastructure and support. And that's basically what the government's been trying to do. The Greater Cities Commission is to build these hubs where people don't need to be able to all travel back into the city.
And that's why you see the price difference from 2020, where it's gone up, call it
Correct.
80, 90%.
That's exactly right.
Because of the connectivity between
That's
the cities.
exactly right.
So we've talked on rent investing. So someone that rents and has X amount of rental properties. What about that? Let's talk on that one person or that family that is renting. They don't have any investments. How do we help them? How if they want to get onto the property market, how do we actually help them? Because you've talked about they need that first ingredient of an income, right? A household income of X amount. How do we help them break that rental cycle?
So from the rental cycle, there's going to be a few different things, right? Obviously, what you guys do at Coposit is going to be one area to really see that transition. But the second thing is you can look at it from a percentage of income. One thing that people don't look at renting and realize is, unlike a house where you live in it, it's tough to move.
Yes.
You have to transact, you have to move, you have to retransact. With renting, when times get tough or when times are not optimal and you're not saving as much, you can literally move.
Correct.
And the cycle's very short. There isn't stamp duty, there isn't CGT, there isn't buyer's agent, there isn't selling agent. Like, that's there for very meaningful, intentful transactions. But with renting, you don't need to be as long-term intentful. So I feel like the first move that you can do is look at the budget of how much you're spending as a proportion of your income.
Yep.
And if it might mean temporary sacrifice for a little bit of where you live, we had the red brick 2-bedroom apartment for 9 family members. 9 in the 2-bedroom, some on the floor, some on the couch. I'm not saying everyone's got to do that, but I'm saying, hey, that to me was normal. And so we had that when we first moved to Sydney in 2011. And then we had the 1-bedroom in Surrey Hills when we were renting. Now, Surrey is a great spot, but guess what? We chose the worst street.
Yeah.
We'd wake up and it'd be the twin towers of the Housing Commission right outside. Yeah. And people were shooting on the side of the streets on the way from our normal morning walk to grab a coffee. So, like, things happen. You can make choices. That's probably step 1. Step 2 is realizing just what is a good savings pattern. Because then when you know your rent, when you know your savings pattern, what's the rest? Go spend it. Bills sometimes, luxuries sometimes, all that sort of stuff. And what the good savings patterns from our analysis is around 25% of net income. Okay. If you can put around 25% of net income, anything there or above, you are a phenomenal saver. If you're doing under 25%, don't listen to this and be like, I suck. It's a start. You have a number now. But building portfolio plans and seeing Aussies get to their goals, as soon as they touch around that 25% of net income and above, sometimes that can happen through just, hey, we need to increase income. Yep. And sometimes that happens through tactful budget. So
that's
pure
pure savings. That's after they've paid rent, all their expenses.
Absolutely. Because then if you go 30 on rent, most property managers will see between 25 to 40, depending on applications. Yes. And if you see that plus that, then you go, okay, I can spend between 30 to 50, depending on what's left over. And that's just a strict financial discipline, which, by the way, today is harder than ever.
Yep.
Yeah. Everything's instant. Everything's
Correct.
easy.
Tap,
everything's
tap.
a click of a button.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
That's right. Yeah, it is.
But you've nailed it. It's because really rent is higher than ever as well. Not only price of property and the cost of deposit, cost of entry, rents are higher than ever before as well. But you've nailed it. You've got choice. So if you're paying $1,000 rent here, you can pay $800 over there and save that $200 a week, for example.
And that could be a 2, 3, 4 year sacrifice until you get to the deposit point.
And then you can find something. But your attitude is amazing because everyone is like looking back. This is how it was, how tough, what is it now compared to that? But you're all about looking forward. And I love how one negative that people see about renting is that the landlord can kick you out at any time and you have to move. But you've turned that into a positive.
I've got a really interesting story on that.
Hit me.
This is one of my favorite stories to share. And I don't think I've shared on a podcast before. If I have, then
it's an exclusive.
We'll see how it goes. Pages are short.
So I did the math once and on renting. And this was obviously this is where you can do 2 things with renting. So firstly, remember I talked about one of those dynamics, which was earning more income as well. Now, very easy said than done.
Yeah,
like, let's not sit here and pretend like everyone's got that opportunity overnight. But renting can be used tactfully too. So one of the decisions I made was to rent a minute outside of my office.
Oh, right. So reduces all your
reduces all my time,
travel expenses,
absolutely.
Parking, tolls.
My wife goes, I'm going to go see my mum. She goes to see her mum. And she goes, I should be home around 10 p.m. Now,
Does that mean you needed one car then as well?
yeah, one car.
Okay,
That's absolutely
that's
right.
a big saving too.
So she went to see her mum, came back, and she said to me, I'll be home at 10. Now, I'm not the kind of guy to sit around at home and just chill until she comes. I'm going to hang with her when she's there.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I grinded those extra 3 hours, five hours from 5 p.m. till 10. Now, every day, it's probably not healthy for your mental life or family life, but I was able to go, in 1 minute, I'm walking home. So even if that's me in my business, you can't tell me that in your career, if you've got an opportunity that goes, if you perform X, you get X, right? Not all careers have that, but for the ones that do, you perform X, you get X. If you perform higher, you get higher. And you can be in proximity, you can control your future, right? And so that was an opportunity where I actually paid more rent and I earned more.
Yeah.
So I went from $800 to $1,000 a week.
But there's also
And then-
savings on that side as well.
Absolutely.
I think that's so clever, Arjun. I think that's like all about choice management.
Yeah.
What decisions are really important to you, and it's also you're absolutely spot on, Carbs, where you said it's not about looking back; it's about looking forwards.
Yeah.
So the position that you're in is the position that you're in. So what are you going to do to change that dynamic? What plans you have to put in place? What do you have to eliminate that no longer serves you? Maybe it's not going out to the most expensive restaurants all the time. Maybe it's actually cooking at home. Maybe it's meal prep. Maybe it's exactly like you said, hey, working so close that we only need one car or we don't need a car. So I think it's, I don't want to use the word sacrifice because that
But I think we need to, right?
Yeah,
Because
But
I think
it sounds negative is what you're
yeah,
about
that's
to
what I was
say,
going to say. There's
right?
a
Yeah.
negative connotation to it, particularly today, but
Strategy.
it's strategy.
strategy.
It's exactly what it is. It's not a sacrifice. It's like, hey, how do I want to shift the needle? Right? So I'm not sacrificing going out. All I'm doing is changing the strategy, the dynamic.
Yep.
It's a really important differentiator for people that want to move forward. But then I think as well, you've got to look at what's available to you. There's so many initiatives, and I mean the state governments, the federal government actually, the initiative around the 5% deposit and no LMI, no stamp duty, up to $1.5 million. Like this is becoming more attractive for first home buyers and for, people to get out of that rent cycle using, strategies like Coposit to be able to actually move forward very, very quickly.
And I think what's important as well from that strategy that you've talked about, I mean, you're still not living a minute away from work, right?
Not anymore.
So then a really important point that it's not forever. So I think people see that and they hear that sacrifice word or strategic, however you want to look at it, but they think that that's how it's going to be.
It's a moment in time to be able to help you move
get ahead.
That's exactly
So
what
I mean,
it is.
when I bought my first property, I used the bank of mum and dad. I borrowed 105%. I lived at home as well. So I really got two huge benefits. Not everyone has the luxury of that
Yeah, correct.
as well.
Yeah.
But this was 15 years ago as
Yeah.
well. But I think using what you can at that particular point in time, I look at that first property that I purchased really as the platform and that foundation for everything that has happened to me today.
But it also gave you the foundation of discipline, of commitment, of strategy.
I didn't do the Europe trips, I can tell you that
No,
much.
neither did I, Chris. I did the exact same thing. I bought my first house in, my kids say it was 3 rubles and a goat. It wasn't. It wasn't 3 rubles
It's not,
and a
he
goat.
still got the go.
That's right, exactly. I mean, it's the Greek thing in us, right? But I paid $241,500 in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, and I remember Greg, the Russian neighbour, puts his head over the fence and goes, "You paid way too much." And I'm sitting there, I'm like 21 years old, going, "Oh my gosh, I paid way too much," right? And we did really well out of that property, but what it gave me was, it gave me a platform for change. So for me personally, at a human level, it gave me the ability to be able to go, okay, this is serious now. I've got commitments. I've got to pay back the bank of mum and dad for deposits, and I've got to pay for maintenance and in the property, and I've got all those other things that come with
It gives you that responsibility.
Exactly.
Well, you talk on discipline because that was exactly what I wanted to do. I remember I had that 25 loan on their property, so no LMI, and I had the 80% on the other property. But I couldn't wait to either pay that or get them refinanced out when the value moved up, because that was that was a goal, right? And that happened after 4 years, so that was a really exciting goal.
Yeah, but I think that's what it all comes down to. Is have people set out what they want their life to be like? Have we actually thought about a 1, 3, 5, 10-year plan?
Yep.
For them personally, because professionally, if you speak to Carbs, he knows exactly what he wants to do over the next 12 months, 3 years, 5 years professionally. But when was the last time we kind of looked at it at a personal level and said, hey, what are my goals? That's why you need people like Arjun or your trusted advisors to be able to help and direct you to get
put
there.
that strategy. So it's not sacrifice, it's strategy.
Strategy.
And I love that message today.
In the interest of personal stories that we're all sharing, here's one that I haven't shared before. But one of my strategies, now that I think back to me, 19-year-old Carbs, wanted to get the first property. Good Italian boy, you have to buy a house, no matter where. It wasn't about buyer's agent strategy. Like, Michael, why are you there? But one of my early strategies was, as a 19 and 20-year-old, I had a good group of mates, and we used to go out on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. So I went, okay, how do I flip this? Because I want to buy a house. I want to save up for a deposit. And there wasn't Coposit back then, Chris, unfortunately. But how do I flip this? So I got a second job as a pizza chef.
Yeah.
And I was working on Friday nights.
Saturday nights.
And Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
So I had Saturday night. I go out on Saturday night. That was my night.
Yeah,
but the
right.
other two, instead of spending money, I was making money.
Nice.
And I was able to flip it.
There you go.
And so that was my early strategy. But look, and I've also made snap decisions along the way. So, my family, my wife and I, we were rent investing for a time. We were renting in the area that we wanted to be, which is where we currently are now, actually, and had investment property. And we made a snap decision because what happened to us, and I have shared this story before, but the real estate agent knocks on the door for the routine inspection, and it was the owner of the agency instead of the
property manager.
Property manager.
Right.
And I said, mate, what are you doing here? And
Dun,
he said,
dun, dun.
yeah, and he said, well, Michael, just letting you know, the owner wants to sell.
Yeah.
So we bought it, right? My wife says, the kids are going to school soon here. We love the area. I don't want to move. Yeah. So we made the snap decision. We sold a property and we bought that property. Was it right? Was it wrong? Well, yeah, we wanted to be there, so it was right. But now my decision has been, I don't want to make snap decisions anymore. My strategy is not to make snap decisions anymore. So I talk about the vision board. I want 2.5 acres. I want a veggie patch.
Great.
I want the soccer goals out the back. But to get there, what can I do now? So next week we're undergoing a little bit of a reno. So how do we add value to our property so that we can start to make steps so that in a couple of years' time I can have that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. The decisions you make, don't make it hastily. Don't snap decision. Like, you need the analysis, just not the paralysis perhaps.
Correct.
Because can we talk on what are the impacts? Because if you don't break the rental cycle, what are the impacts if you're 50, 60 and you're still not able to break? Like, we've seen it. We do a really popular show called on Coposit Street. We go out and do street interviews. How old are you? How much do you have in savings? And we actually had, I don't know if you want to talk on that, the 70-year-old who was still
we
renting.
did, yeah.
Still having to work because they couldn't retire. So what impact does it have if they can't actually break the rental cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'll share a few things. So firstly, when we've mapped portfolio plans out for people in terms of what it takes, number of investments, how to get there, one of the most powerful moves in a portfolio plan, what do you reckon it is? Take a guess. The most powerful moves you can make in a portfolio to achieve your income goals.
You're putting us on the
To have a
spot.
higher income, I guess.
It's downsize a family home. Downsizing is the game changer. So what ends up happening is if you have a larger family home you eventually get into in your high, functioning corporate career or business career, anything, usually 30s and 40s, right? 30s and 40s are your peak income earning career growth time. Not to say you can't do better than KFC, 85-year-old Colonel Sanders, right?
Yeah,
but I mean, the main thing is 30s and 40s, you get that momentum on a home, you compound out the price of Sydney using long-term growth rates up until age 60. It's a very pretty number.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, you actually look at units, the 40-year average of units have underperformed houses. And so when you're going from the 60 age and the 40 age, your requirements are very different. At the 40, 2 kids, 3 kids, all that, this, that, activities, stuff for storing all this stuff. Then in the 60s, it's like, my kids want to hang with me, but they probably don't want to be around me too much. Right? They want to go and do their thing, do this. And so as a result, the unit might look better. So what's that do? In your favor, the unit goes like this long term, the house goes like this, Sydney's price cap is this much then, and then all of a sudden, you've got this major downsize vehicle where today's tax laws, obviously get your own advice, CGT free.
Yeah.
You wipe out, by the way, paper wealth, not real income, because there's no income from a house. And it's on paper. You should not have paper wealth in retirement. Because then you're going to be like the days when I was managing branches at Marrickville and the Italian lovely lady has a multi-million or large home.
$4 million house.
Asset rich cash pool.
Fully asset rich, paid off home, running with the 8:30 queue fortnightly on a Thursday, glass doors opening, get me my pension, stamp my passbook, I need this money badly. And they just haven't been taught the power of these things, right? Today we have the information. So if someone has that home and downsizes, it's a game changer. So being able to get on the market from a home perspective, whether that's first or later is a different story, but once you get on there, it can change your whole portfolio. Because when you sell it, did you sell any income earning assets? No, because if you've got 4 properties or investments, they're all still earning rent.
Correct.
But if you didn't get to paying that debt down because they're interest only, you now have offsetted them all, or most of them, because you had a downsize create this wad of cash that you can put across.
Yeah.
And that's future dollars.
Yeah.
Today's debt.
And do you look at from a retirement perspective, is cash flow more important than capital growth in a retirement perspective?
At the end goal, it's the thing, right? So residential property is a productive asset as you build wealth. It's an unproductive asset as you retire.
So then you unlock the capital when
That's
you get
exactly
into that,
right.
to
Well,
get
and
cash flow
that's exactly what we see, particularly in the Hills District's northwest corridor, is that they're in these big houses in Castle Hill.
We've had substantial uplift, right?
That's
over
exactly right. They've been there for 25, 30 years, and it's a 1,100 square meter block, double story.
$3 4
I'm
million
65
asset.
years old. I'm hanging on to it. Why? Because no one's actually sat down with me and said, hey, it's actually better for you to downsize that. Yeah, absolutely. Like Arjun said, take, $1 million, $2 million cash.
Take the maintenance work out as well.
There's no
I mean,
maintenance. Have lock up and leave. A friend of ours, they were in Hornsby, Mount Colah around there, and they were on a pretty steep block. And Maddie's mum was about 80, I think 75, 80 years old, and the maintenance and the stairs and the upkeep. And all of a sudden, Mac just goes, Mum, sell the house. She's like, but I'm holding on to it for you. And he's like,
Yeah.
we don't need it. Sell the house, bought in Tarramurra, has the best quality of life, lock up and leave, can travel, has investments now. And I think it's just, again, back to the word strategy. What game are you trying to win? You have to design the game that you want to win.
to get to that nice position
That's
of
exactly
should I
right.
sell my house or not?
Correct.
At retirement cash flow, you need to actually
Correct.
plan now.
But how do you break the cycle? Man, you got to go back and you got to make some choices.
Yeah.
You got to make some decisions. You got to be able to, use that word sacrifice. You
so
might.
Con, you're 25.
Yeah,
You're,
thank you,
you're renting.
mate.
You're renting.
Yeah.
How do you break the cycle? You don't have any other assets.
Yeah,
how do you break the
I
cycle?
think we've covered most of that off though, Chris. I think it is all about working towards a budget. Do I have the ability to earn more? I've always had a sales background, so yes, I've had. But if I haven't, I've done multiple jobs. I used to, telemarket in sales, and then also used to do the graveyard shift at a service station. From 11 a.m. till 7 a.m. and then go back home, sleep, and wake up at 12 o'clock, telemarket till 7 o'clock at night, and repeat. So I think it's all about decisions.
Yes.
So, can I, if I'm renting at 25 years old, earning $80,000, can I go, I want to buy in Bellevue Hill? No. But could I go and speak to someone like Arjun or Coposit and buy something off the plan that can actually utilize every resource and tool to be able to enable me? Yes. Can I work towards a budget? Just put in, ChatGPT, build a budget for me. I want to save 25% net of my, where does my money, that means I don't have to go out and have takeaway every night or Uber Eats or that. Maybe I only have one, streaming service, not all of them. Maybe I don't need to upgrade my car or the wheels on my car. Maybe I don't need to go to Europe every year. Maybe I just go to Europe every 3 years. Carbs said it. I used to go out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now I just, I get, well, not now.
Not now.
But,
Now I don't go out any nights.
Well, there you go. But this is if you're serious. So I talk about in our world, you're either interested or committed.
Yep.
So if you're interested, you're probably not gonna get to where you want to get to. I'm not being negative. That's the reality. If you're committed, you're gonna go and do the research, find the best people to speak to, and start. We see this at open homes. People are coming through and they're browsing. What are they doing? They're starting to trying to get a feel of what residential real estate markets look like. What's the market doing? They're looking at, how many people are registered for an auction on a weekend and bidding activity. And there may be 9-10 months before even applying for finance, but you've got to do your homework, right?
What's that 22 months that we mentioned earlier?
Interested versus committed is a 22 months, because that 22 months is mostly interested. Are
That's
interest rates
exactly
moving up?
right.
Are they moving down? Is there going to be a crash? Is there not? Like, there's all these questions, and if you got to move from interested to committed, and I think circling all the way back, we talk about, like you're talking about being able to downsize at 65. Well, to do that, you need to get that home.
We need to
first.
have your strategy.
You
Correct.
can't do that at 45. Start that at 45. You got to start that in your 20s. You got to get committed.
Yeah.
And I
It's a mind shift, right?
I absolutely love that mind shift. Con, I know you've got a webinar coming up.
Yes.
So we probably need to get moving. Let's go around the grounds. You've been renting for 5 years, and you've kind of touched on this already. The quick anecdote. what are you doing this week? What are you doing this week to start to shift that mindset?
I'm doing my budget.
Yep.
For starters, I'm seeing where my actual cash flow is going. I'm starting off with that. Then I'm starting to assemble my board of advisors.
Yep.
Accountants, solicitors, financial planners, buyers agents, real estate agents, mum and dad, uncles, aunties, whoever it might be, without having too much noise. And then I'm making a decision. Is this the place that I want to invest in, or is this the place that I want to live in? Because they are two very different things. That's probably where I'd start, Carbs.
Arjun, same question.
For me, what I'd do is I would go, what number do I need to hit my financial goals from an income perspective? And if that ends up being 3 investment properties or 4 or 5 investment properties, whatever the number is, I'm going to just lock in. And in all this planning talk that we had, what I want to come back to is this term called seasons of life.
Yes.
It's my season of life to grind like no tomorrow, right? If you tell me, and a slightly overweight dude, to go for a run and you don't tell me how long for, when I'm going to stop, when it's done, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to stop earlier. But if you're my coach who comes out and goes, we just got to run, got 1 more lap left.
Yes.
That's telling me how long I'm having to do this for. Yeah. I've got my goal. I've got my plan. It's my season. Just going to put up with this crap for 1 more lap, right? And so if I got my season of investing, I want to make sure that in future, I'm going to look back in life and go, 2 options. Number 1, get your place now, but then catch up on life financially, or get your financial sorted and then get that one place.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to heavily rent vest for a few more years, sort out my portfolio. I'm done. All eyes locked in on the home after that.
Incredible.
That's my goal.
Oh, you almost lost me at running laps, but you got me back. So that's
Come
good.
on, Carbs, you're an athlete.
Do you want to give yourself a plug, give your business a plug? Where can people find you?
Oh, thanks, man. Look, my name's Arjun. We're at InvestorKit.com.au. And in terms of what we do, we help people research the right markets and then find the right investments that help them grow their portfolio.
Love it. Kon, McGrath Projects?
It's residential and projects. So McGrath, West, Northwest, Northern Districts, Hills and Hawkesbury, and projects. Anything from residential sales, off the plan, project marketing, acreage, you name it. But I'll actually endorse Arjun. He's a very good friend of mine, and I've referred to him a lot of people, and they have had tremendous success with InvestorKit. So I couldn't recommend them more thoroughly, just as we have with Coposit as well. So we love working with both of you guys.
Great endorsement. Thank you. Chris, do you want to plug Coposit? Well, everyone knows.
Mate, everyone knows us.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been a great chat. You're both coming back one day because this vibe has been incredible as well. So I want to say thank you. We'll see you soon, and we'll see you soon as well at home.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
This is Jason He, the sexiest voice in property, here to tell you that the Property Now podcast offers opinions on Australian property news for informational and entertainment purposes only, and general in nature. It does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. It does not constitute professional advice. Always seek expert guidance before making any property-related decisions.